Helping process role-play scenario for Suzanne Clarke's role-play. Leanne Davies is a 25-year-old woman who is being abused by her husband. Leanne's husband is a 38-year-old office manager of a small business. They have 2 children together, aged 3 and 5. Leanne is a highly educated university graduate and comes from a wealthy background. Her husband, on the other hand, while also university educated, came from a tougher socioeconomic background. Leanne works as an editor for a popular editorial magazine that tackles hard-hitting issues. While editing an article on abusive relationships for her magazine, Leanne decided to seek help for her own situation. Leanne is very nervous about disclosing this abuse to her family and friends because she feels like they will judge her and not understand or confront her partner. Leanne would like to work through her problem with her husband because she loves him very much and wants to keep the family together. Hi, Leanne.
Yes.
Come on in. My name is Suzanne. I'm the counselor here. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just have a few things I want to go over with you. So I have been a counselor here for about 4 years now. So for about 4 years now. So here at this office, we do individual as well as family and couples counseling.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go over the confidentiality with you. So our confidentiality for this office is basically that if there are any harm to yourself, any harm to others, we would have to report that immediately to the police. If a minor is being harmed in any way, we would also have to report that to the police as well. And if our records are subpoenaed by the court, we would also have to give those records into them. Other than that, the records will only be kept here within the agency, and only the agency will have access to your forms.
Okay.
So I do have here a confidentiality form for you to sign. So if you could just look this over for me and sign it if you feel comfortable.
Okay.
Okay. I also have some waters here for both of us if you'd like some water. Please feel free to have some. Excellent. Okay, so I am going to be taking a number of notes during this session. This is for your file that we will keep at the agency. Are you okay with that? Okay, excellent. So I just wanted to know what brings you here today?
Well, a little bit about myself is I'm an editor at a magazine, and we talk about a little bit of awareness issues that are apparent in society but aren't really talked about. And one of my topics right now is on domestic violence, and with my own personal issues, this is just a topic that I'm researching, so I've come for personal counseling and to know how it is to do an actual session.
Oh, okay. So, so from what I'm hearing is your work is very important to you because
Yeah.
that is kind of what brought you here today. And also you are seeking some professional information as well as personal counseling?
Yeah.
So with regards to the professional information. If you do want to continue personal counseling with me, I would suggest that maybe we set you up with a different counselor from this
Okay.
agency, or we can connect you with one of our partner agencies, and someone could discuss the article there with you, just because we don't want to have that crossover, right?
Okay.
Okay, great. So you did say that some of your own issues here brought you here today. What issues would you be referring to?
Well, with my husband, there's a
Mhm.
lot of problems going on there that I feel that needs to be talked about, and this is just a way me to know how counseling is and maybe fix my own problems would help in this situation.
Okay. And what exactly is the situation?
Well, he abuses me in different ways where it just affects me on how I think and how I react to situations now, and it just makes it more, I have to be more cautious of what I do and what I say, because I don't know how it might affect him.
So do you feel kind of like maybe you have to walk on eggshells around your husband?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any children?
I have two sons. They're 5 and 8, and yeah, they're in school. They're having a good childhood, I would say.
That's really good. So in your living in your household, it's just you, your husband, and your two kids?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said that your husband is abusive towards you. Is that physically, emotionally, financially?
I would think it's all of them, because he knows I'm insecure about certain things in my life and he would use it against me. Financially, we're pretty stable, but he has little certain things that he argues with me about with money. And then physical, he hasn't violently abused me, but he would grab my arm if he thinks that something isn't up to his standards or isn't right to him.
Okay. And does the grabbing or negative comments, does it happen around your kids?
Sometimes it does, but lately it hasn't been happening that much, because I don't want my kids to be around in that certain situation, because they'll learn from it.
Yeah,
But I don't want them to have a father figure that does that and they see their mom being a victim of it.
Okay. So it doesn't really happen that often around your children? Okay. Do you feel like the situation could get worse, like it could escalate?
Well, yes, because when I first met him, we've known each other for about 3 years prior to our engagement, and then now we're married, so we've known each other for a good 6 years now, and he was never like this before, or I've never seen him like this before, so I don't know if it's a new problem with him or something that's just affecting him at work and he is taking it out on me, or I've just never seen him like this before.
Okay, and have you talked about this with your husband?
I've talked about our financial and like how he treats me, and he says that he would work on it and he doesn't mean to do it, but I just don't know if he realizes that it happens more frequently than he notices.
Okay. So, I hear that money keeps coming up a lot when you mention your husband and being aggravated. Do you think that's like a trigger for him?
It might be, but I don't know what makes him be so tipped off about it, because he has a good steady job and I have a good steady job, and we're both able to financially support ourselves, so our income together is pretty good, but he seems to think that my money is his money and his money is like his own money, so that could be a trigger in situations.
Okay. Okay. Have you spoken to anybody in your family, any of your friends about this issue?
Well, the person I'm really close to is my sister. My parents aren't here anymore, but my sister is one of the closest people to me, and I can trust her with certain, I can disclose a lot of stuff to her, but not with this certain type of situation because she's very verbal on situations that she thinks isn't right. And I feel if I tell her something, she's gonna just go off and say it to him and make it a problem and make more issues for me and him together. With the friends, that doesn't really happen because my friends are his friends. So I can't really disclose information to our friends.
So it seems like besides your family system inside your home that you're somewhat isolated. There's no one you can fully confide in. Would I be
Yeah.
correct in saying that? Okay. So, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like I'm closed off from the world. Like I don't have someone who can support me in ways that might just be emotional because my husband is the problem in that state right there. So I can't really go and talk to him because he's not as open that I would want him to be. So it just makes me feel defeated.
Yeah. You seem like a very strong, independent woman. So, what I'm trying to get at is, what do you want to do in this situation? Did you want to maybe pursue some outcomes with your husband? Did you want to maybe discuss the option of not staying with your husband? What's your main goal from this counseling session that you'd like to leave here with?
I don't want my sons to grow up without a father, and I feel if I walk away from the situation, the marriage, then it's just giving him leeway to maybe hurt me even more and use that against me. But I do love him really much, so I would want to work on situations with him, maybe counseling for myself first and then counseling with him. That could be an option, but I really want to see if this marriage would work out.
Okay, so we can definitely look into couples counseling for you guys. I think that would be a really great option, especially since you do want to continue to pursue this relationship. It seems like you really do love your husband very much, and of course your children will want him around and you would want that for them. So we can definitely look into that. And we can definitely continue with counseling individually for later sessions. The only thing that concerns me is if the situation does escalate, I feel like it would be good for you to have a plan in place for the safety of yourself and also the safety of your children. Is that something you'd be interested in discussing at this time?
Yeah, could you clarify more of what that would be?
Okay, so basically, what that would really consist of is a safe plan. A safe plan is just a plan of action for if the situation escalates and you feel that your life or your safety or the safety or lives of your children are in danger from your partner. So basically what we can do is we can set you up with the name of a women's shelter, or if you have any family that you could stay with, parents, if your parents are in the pictures or something like that, and you would just be able to contact them right away and say that you're coming over. You would also have maybe a backpack you could put in your car or you can keep at your desk at work with just copies of important documents like your children's birth certificates, if they have passports, health cards, that sort of information in there, along with some money and some clothes for you and your children, as well as the numbers of some safe people that you can call who can help you out of that situation. I know that sounds like a lot right now, and you know, you maybe don't want to think that the situation would get that far, but you have to consider the safety of for yourself, number one, as well as your children. Is that something that you would consider doing?
It would always be a backup plan, yeah.
Yeah, so just keep that in the back of your mind. We can always pursue other options, and maybe it would never have to get to that place, since you say that the abuse hasn't become violent. Okay, so now that I've discussed the safe plan with you, because for me, your safety and the safety of your children is the most important thing.
Okay.
I did hear you say that your husband says things to you that bothers you. What kind of things is he saying?
Well, when we get in arguments, it's mostly him name calling and calling me like, oh, you don't do anything, you don't help around the house, you're always spending money, like little sentences that he says that he probably thinks that isn't affecting me, but it actually is.
Yeah.
And I don't think he means it, he's just saying it in the time of the moment, but it's always gonna be there and stay in my mind, you know? So
Yeah.
the situation's just really bad with how he speaks to me.
Because, I mean, from what I know from being an editor, that does seem like a very demanding job. You have a lot of deadlines and stuff like that coming through, and you're in charge of a lot of people as, you know, as a woman in sort of a male-dominated field, as well as you would have to, you know, do child rearing and other non-paid tasks at home, which is also considered work. So I can definitely see how, you know, your husband saying that you're lazy, not doing anything would bother you at home. So one thing that I would suggest to you that might be helpful is journaling or a thought diary. Journaling, you can basically write down maybe what was said to you at the time and how that made you feel at that moment. And then you could write a little sentence saying how this is not true because, and write that out. And that will also help as well drive those negative thoughts away. You can also just try journaling in general. It can be very grounding for you when you're feeling stressed out about the situation that's going on. And also even just talking to your husband and letting him know how that makes you feel when he says those things about you, especially in front of your children, if it does happen in front of your children, because again, they see everything that you do, you know what I mean, even if you don't think they see, so maybe for him that will be a trigger not to say things like that about you as well.
I never even realized that I could, it never clued into me that I could do little journal thoughts in a diary or anything like that. Even though I am an editor, it just never clued into me that maybe that would be a technique to help me cope with this.
Yeah, because obviously you got into writing or editing because you do love to write, so maybe reignite that passion and start writing for yourself again. That might be helpful.
Also, there's been times where he would insult me, and I normally take it in a good manner and just leave it alone and try not to think about it and not place it on myself. But there's been times where I just feel the need to snap at him and argue back and basically make him feel the same way that he's made me feel. And I know that's not the right thing to do, but that's just now it's become my first initial thought into reacting to situations that he puts me in. And I don't want it to be a big thing afterwards, because I don't know if he'll get mad at me and just snap, or maybe physically hurt me now if I try to defend myself, and I don't want it to be a problem like that. he doesn't know how to comfort me in situations also, because there would be times where I would get way too stressed out and I would just break down and cry, and he would just be like, "Oh, are you okay?" And if I'm like, "No," he just wouldn't know what to do afterwards. So I don't think our communication is as good as I want it to be,
Okay.
and that's a real issue when it comes to situations with our problems.
Yeah.
So, I'm
So I definitely heard what you said. So you did mention two pretty big things. You say sometimes you get really angry when he says stuff to you and you feel like you snap, and that could turn into a physical altercation. And you also said you feel like he doesn't know how to comfort you when you're upset. So we'll just park that one for a moment and we'll come back to it in a second. So as far as like the getting angry and snapping part, there's a couple of things that you could definitely do as far as things to just calm you down. We call them grounding techniques.
okay.
So one of them that you can do is you can just plant your feet firmly on the ground, sort of press your feet into the ground so you feel the earth, and just think of a calming, relaxing thought. Maybe think of your children playing, or think of an activity that you like to do, or maybe the scenery, or take yourself back to the beach in your mind. Something like that is also quite helpful. Another thing you can do, a lot of people count to 10. They'll count up to 10 or they'll count down from 10 slowly while taking in deep breaths. You can do that in your mind. You can also try some diaphragmatic breathing, which is basically just you breathe fully, filling your lungs and your stomach with air, and breathe out. So you take in the air through your nostrils and you breathe fully out, so you could definitely try that. And that's also something you can do in other situations as well that people might not notice. If you're getting frustrated or upset at work, or if you're maybe frustrated or upset with your children. So it can help you in different areas of your life. Another thing that you could try as well, distraction techniques. So leaving the situation, or maybe walk away, go for a walk, come back after. Those are some good techniques also for dealing with frustration, is to leave the situation and do something constructive. As far as you said, I'm not being able to comfort you, different people experience certain emotional situations in different ways, so it's hard for them to interpret those emotions in others. So a lot of men have been socialized that crying isn't good. Crying is sort of like a form of like weakness or something like that, which it isn't. It's a good emotional release to just let your feelings out and cry if you're upset, if you're angry, if you're sad, even if you're happy sometimes. You know what I mean? So for him, maybe he shuts down and he doesn't know how to deal with those emotions from you. So maybe you would have to teach him how to soothe you, if that makes a little bit of sense. So let him know, when I'm crying or when I'm really upset, it would be nice if you could just hug me or hold me close or get me a cup of tea or whatever it is that makes you feel better in that situation, right? So maybe for him, when he's crying, he just wants everybody to leave him alone. So maybe that's what he's doing for you. Maybe not necessarily that he doesn't care, He's just trying to do what he would want done for him in that situation.
It seems more clear now as you put it in that way, because there would be times where I just don't think he even cares about the situation at all, but I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Also, again, you said that he spends a lot of money. If you don't mind, some tips, if you don't already have them, is what you could do is a couple's joint account, if you don't already have one, and that way all the bills are paid from that account. You both put your portion of the money in, and he can see what's going in, what's going out, and you can see what's going in
Yeah.
and what's going out when it's being paid, if it's being paid on time, and also a joint couples savings account. So, I know sometimes people, when getting married, will just keep their finances separate. But it's not only convenient, but in your situation, it would be helpful to show that, you know, you are a contributing member of this family. So I don't know if that's something that you would like to try as well.
Yeah. It seems like a possibility that we could probably set that up.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything else you wanted to discuss today?
Well, I feel like his uneasiness about the financial problems is because I grew up wealthy and I had a stable family income coming in and I could possibly get whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
But I didn't really take advantage of that, so I only bought the necessities that I really needed.
Mm-hmm.
And he's already told me that he didn't grow up in a wealthy environment, or his family wasn't as, he didn't get the necessities that he really needed whenever he needed it. So I feel like that could be a possible issue of why he's reflecting that upon me, and maybe he's just looking for like a safety net afterwards if I were to lose my job, or if he was to lose his job, he could have that as backup money to help us. So maybe his financial issues with me and how he doesn't communicate it well to me is possibly because of that reason.
Yeah, I think those are some really great conclusions that you've come to. So I think maybe even just discussing with him, where are we coming from? Maybe some goals. You could write down some goals together, what you want to do with your money once it's saved and you have a lump sum, what he feels his retirement might look like, because if that is a concern for him, it would be good to put him at ease, and it can definitely de-escalate the situation. Yeah. So that would be something great for you and him to try out together. So I would suggest maybe having that discussion first before going into the to the joint account situation, just so you guys can both see where you're coming from, because for you coming from your family background and him coming from his family background, it's like worlds away, right? Yeah. So I think that's a really good observation. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about today, or anything that you needed clarification on?
I just feel like I should just really talk to him about all these situations. And this counseling session did really help me. It made me realize that a lot of the problems don't just come out of nowhere. There's probably a reason why behind it. So me having this counseling session kind of made me know that I should just talk to him about situations instead of keeping it all in, because that's not going to make it better.
Yeah, that's
So you mentioned couples counseling to me earlier in the session.
Yes.
What would be some expectations that you would like me to do for myself, and what would be involved in couples counseling?
So I think that it would be beneficial for both of you to receive couples counseling as well as individual counseling, so that way you can each work on your own individual problems as well as work on your issues as a couple. Couples counseling is a lot of work, so you both have to be invested in the situation. So it would just be an hour session time, a 90-minute intake initial session. And basically we would just discuss any issues you guys were having as a couple. It would be a format set up as today. We would set some ground rules for how you guys would be talking to one another within the session. But it definitely works best if everyone is open to the situation. So it is a conversation that you would have to have as a couple, as well as a conversation within yourself. Are you ready to fully open up to have these issues worked out together as a team? Are you guys fully invested? So I do think it'd be a really great idea for both of you, so that should be something that you guys could talk about as well as other things that we have discussed in the session together today.
And I think if we do the counseling session with both of us, it would be a better experience for us in the end. And I would be more open to talk about situations with him and have like the safety support that I really do need other than him in situations like this where I can confide in other people and I wouldn't have to feel the worry of him finding out and then him getting mad at me. We would have that open discussion already.
Yeah, so I definitely hear what you're saying. Counseling, couples counseling in a way sort of levels the playing field. So it is a safe space for you guys to talk about your issues, but maybe where one person will be stronger in certain areas than the other person, you do have the counselor there to sort of offer suggestions and tips and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think that would be beneficial for both of you as well. So yeah. So was there anything else you wanted to talk about in the session before we close up today?
No, I think that's it. I think I've like realized a lot and learned a lot about this whole experience where it can help me a lot in my life with my husband. And if he would be open to do counseling sessions himself and just listen to problems that I think that we have, it would be a really good change in our relationships and our with our like family and everything like that.
Yeah.
And hopefully my kids will have a father figure in their life still, even after if he agrees to or disagrees not to do it.
Yeah.
Hopefully he will be open-minded to it, and that we can get the situation out of the way so we can have a better communication in that relationship.
That's really good. I'm glad you found today beneficial. So if you do want to go up to the front on your way out, you can book another appointment up at the front. And you can also ask the front desk personnel to book you into an informational interview with one of the other counselors for your paper as well, if that's something you're still interested in doing. All right.
Thank you.
Good luck, and I hope to see you next week. Thanks for coming in, Leanne.
You're welcome.
All right.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. As of yet.